You never know what will happen when you live in the woods. You try to be ready for everything. Some people don't have the skills they need to stay alive in the remote mountain areas of the United States. Lucky for us, some people can do that. Mountain Men, a show about a group of men who spend most of their lives learning how to feed themselves and stay alive in difficult weather, is the best example of this. Rich Lewis became well known as a mountain lion shooter because of a reality TV show. Fans of the show loved him because he was good at tracking and really cared about his dogs. But when Rich stopped being on the show, a lot of people became interested. The video for today will answer all of your worries. Let's get started. After 5 years on Mountain Men, Rich Lewis became one of the most liked and respected characters on the show. His fans loved how brave he was and how he protected his town from wild animals. You could respect him for a lot of things, like his tough way of life or his strong sense of duty. It wasn't a surprise that many fans were worried when Rich left the show. Some people even thought he was fired because he didn't agree with the directors. What's the real story though? Rich has never liked talking to the press, that's the truth. He's very private, so it's not likely that you'll be able to get a full talk from him about his leaving. One thing is still clear: Rich picked to leave the show by himself. Reports say that neither the directors nor anyone else made the decision for him. He just decided it was time to leave. We have a better idea of why Rich Lewis left Mountain Men now that he hasn't been seen since the season 6 end. In that show, Rich told the truth: he felt too old to keep up with his tough hunting routines. He also talked about how his way of life was making him feel worse. He was ready for a change when he looked back. Almost certainly quit the show to live a quieter life. It's pretty clear why he quit reality TV now that he talks about getting older, physical demands, and a desire for peace. Fans still don't know what happened to him. He used to live in Ruby Valley, a small town in northeastern Montana. Does he still live there, or has he moved on? It's too bad that not much is known about Rich Lewis's life now. There are no social media accounts that I can see for him. In the past few years, his family hasn't said anything new about him. The man who was once known as the Montana Lion Hunter has disappeared, and no one knows where he is right now. Also, it's too bad that Rich Lewis hasn't been seen on Mountain Men since he left the show, because not even the History Channel has talked about his life since then. Rich has been open about a lot of his life on the show, so it makes sense that he would want to keep it private. Fans would love to know what he's up to now. Rich, like many television stars, only showed what he wanted to show. He never seemed interested in fame or notice from people outside of the show. These days it's tough to keep your private life secret, especially after being on TV. We usually know a lot about our favorite stars, even things that they probably shouldn't have told us. Mountain Men's men are not like that though. They don't want to be in the center, maybe because of the way they live or their personal beliefs. They don't talk about their personal lives, and Rich Lewis has always been one of those people. It's worth noting that finding detailed information about Rich Lewis's life outside of acting is especially hard, even compared to his former Mountain Man co-stars. We don't know much about his childhood, schooling, or family. Rich comes from Idaho, that much we know. He had been living in Ruby Valley, Montana for more than 20 years before he got his start on TV. Fans may recognize his wife Diane, because she was on the show with Rich from the 2nd to the 5th season. Still, a lot about their private life is still unknown. It is not clear if the pair ever had kids. Like Rich, Diane doesn't like to be seen, and isn't on any social media sites. That means fans can't really find out anything else about the couple besides what they saw on TV. Even more interesting is how Rich was found in the first place. It is not often that a big network like History makes a hit show about people who live in the woods. Mountain ranges really do look simple and peaceful at first glance. It's even stranger how the show's makers found someone like Rich whose private life was so closed off. Thinking about it, it's not likely that you'll meet someone who lives such a rough and rural life and be able to get them to go on national TV. Mountain Men's producers probably came up with clever ways to find the right people for the show. In the case of Rich Lewis, he probably wasn't that hard to find. In his heart, the media had been interested in him for years before the show ran. The Missoulian, a Montana newspaper, wrote an article about Rich in June 2007 after he killed a mountain cat that was causing trouble in Ruby Valley. Rich tracked down and killed the lion, which had already been marked as dangerous by local officials. He did this with full permission from the Department of Fish, Wildlife and Parks. Living so close to the forest, it had killed a number of foxes, dogs and pets in the area. There are times when wild animals get lost in town, but this mountain cat had gone too far. Rich stepped in to keep everyone safe, and people did notice what he did. That's why he was admired and well known in Ruby Valley before the mountain men came along. He became a local legend for being able to track down people quickly and bravely while saving others. So when history looked for real-life survivalists to join the second season of the show, was a given. Rich was good at what he did, but he also had the right look for TV. With his long scruffy beard, serious face and amulet-covered hunting gear, he looked like he came straight out of a book about tough mountain hunters. Not only could he live in the wild, but he also looked like he could. And that's one of the things that made him so memorable on the show. Fans of the Mountain Men were really into Rich Lewis, which is a bit strange since he wasn't exactly known for having a happy personality. Still, you knew something exciting was about to happen every time you saw him load his dogs into his old truck and drive up the rough mountain paths. Rich wasn't a loner, even though he was a good shooter who paid attention. He would often show the screen to his wife Diane, a neighbor or a friend, and teach them how to track and hunt wild animals. Fans saw not only how to stay alive, but also how a close-knit community is formed through confidence, toughness and experience. One thing is for sure, Rich's time as a TV star may have seemed too short to his fans. He lived up to his name, the Lion Hunter. During that time, he also gained the love, respect and admiration of viewers. Like most reality TV stars, it's hard to reveal how much Rich makes from the show. Companies that make TV shows and networks usually don't talk about those numbers, and Mountain Men is no different. Fans and websites haven't stopped guessing though. Time on Mountain by Rich Lewis. Rich's brave act was more than just a neighborhood success story. A lot of people in the area heard about it right away, and people were happy to tell visitors their favorite story. People who do study for the History Channel also heard about the story. At the time, they were looking for new people to join the group of Mountain Men for its second season. They didn't think twice about getting in touch with Rich after hearing about his skills and name. Rich decided to be on the show, so viewers could see for themselves how good he is at survival, tracking, and living a unique life. Men who decided to live in some of North America's most remote and rough areas were shown on the first season of Mountain Men, which aired on March 31, 2012. These weren't just some random weekend travelers. They lived in the wild every day, navigating the harsh landscapes of the Appalachian Blue Ridge, the Montana Rockies and Alaska's huge northern ranges. In the wild, where people are not at the top of the food chain, these men depended on skills that had been passed down from generation to generation. Skills like how to hunt, track, build and stay alive without the conveniences of today. The risks they were in were real. Isolation, dangerous animals, and the harsh winter weather can all be very hard. There wasn't much space between life and death in that place, especially when the temperature dropped below 60 degrees and the body got cold faster than it could heal. When the show first started, people were drawn in right away by how real the stories were. Three men, Eustace Conway, Tom Orr and Marty Mayorado, were shown in the first season. Even though they lived in different mountain areas, they all had to deal with the same problem: how to stay alive in the wild away from people. Mountain Men became a huge hit right away because of how determined, skilled and connected to nature the actors were. When Rich Lewis joined the group in season 2, he added to the show's rough charm by playing a mountain lion hunter, whose only goal is to not only survive in the wild, but also protect others from it. In Triplet, North Carolina, Eustace Conway lived. His home was in the Cherokee National Forest, close to the border with Tennessee. By the time mountain men started shooting, he had been living in those woods for 35 years, learning skills like how to hunt, skin, and kill animals. He laughed when people told him that going to the mountains wouldn't help him escape reality. This present-day world seemed fake to him. He said that most Americans today couldn't even get taller or keep their food. Tom Orr, on the other hand, lived in the Northwest, deep in the wilds of Montana's Rocky Mountains. Winter had been coming in faster than usual that year. Even though the land was rough and cruel, Tom wouldn't have changed it for anything. Since he had lived in the same place for more than 30 years, he didn't want to go back to what other people called settlement. He and his wife Nancy loved how quiet it was, even though their kids and grandkids begged them all the time to retire and move somewhere warmer. But living in Montana wasn't easy, especially for people like Tom who still had pain from old riding injuries. It could be winter for up to 7 months, and getting ready for it wasn't easy. Nancy told them that they would be in a lot of trouble when it snowed if they didn't finish everything in the fall. Tom also said that he and his friends had to look for good places to hunt in the winter every year so that they could have enough food to get them through the long cold months. Marty Mayorato lived on the edge of Alaska, almost 100 miles from the nearest grocery store. There winter came earlier than in the lower mountain areas, and the weather was some of the worst on the continent. Marty always left his wife and young daughter at home in Two Rivers, which is about 23 miles from Fairbanks, when it got cold. He went to the northern Alaskan Range, which is one of the most remote places on Earth. Getting to Marty's trapline house was hard for many Alaskans because the state is so big and the land is so rough. It was about 200 miles away from where he lived. It was not a normal flight. It took over 3 hours. Alaska is a dangerous place to fly, even when the weather is good, but winter made it even more dangerous. Marty had to winterize his plane, which meant taking off the wheels and putting on skis before every trip. In temperatures below zero, the job was very hard, and even simple things were tiring. He had to deal with winds, whiteouts, and temperatures that could drop below 40 degrees once he was in the air. Rich Lewis joined Mountain Men in its second season with a completely different set of survival skills that were just as important. Rich wasn't just a mountain man, he also hunted mountain lions. In 2013, there were about 75,000 cattle in the area, and they were grazing on almost 1 million acres of farms. When mountain lions started to hang out near farms and threaten animals, Rich was the person everyone knew they could trust to take care of the problem. Lewis, these big cats are some of the most dangerous wild animals in North America. They usually eat deer and elk, but they have been known to attack cattle, sometimes even people if they get too close to places where people live. A lot of these fights started when people built homes and farms in the middle of the lion's natural range. In the past few years, rules that protect the environment have helped mountain lion populations grow again, but this has caused some problems. Lions have attacked and killed horses and pets in the area. People who lived in Ruby Valley knew exactly who to call when mountain lions were a threat to their animals. When he first appeared on TV in Mountain Men, people saw why he was so respected in his town. In the first episode, was hired by a rancher after 2 heads of cattle were killed by a lion. Rich brought his pack of dogs with him, which he had trained for more than 3 years to find mountain cats and catch them without hurting them. He called this very specific method hounding. To start the search, he put his most beloved dog on the hood of his car and tied it down with a rope to make sure nothing would happen. The other dogs rode behind. The dogs sniffed the air for any sign of a close lion as Rich drove slowly through the valley. When they found new tracks in the snow, he let them go into the wild to start the hunt. Rich followed on foot and paid close attention to hear a certain set of barks that meant the dogs had found their target. It's important to note that Rich never meant to kill the cat. It was his goal to drive it away from farms and up into the mountains, where it would no longer be a threat. Once the dogs cornered the lion, Rich would scare it away by making noise and moving around. If needed, the chase would go on until dusk.
people were really moved by how close Rich was to his dogs. At first he showed off Capote, Turbo and Brandy, three of his best dogs. He added more over time, but Capote stayed ahead of the rest, because of his years of experience and feelings. Rich treated his dogs like family. He made it a rule that he would never go home without all of them with him. One memorable part of the show was when only Capote and Brandy came back from a trip. Turbo wasn't there. Rich was afraid of the worst because the area was known for wolves. He wouldn't leave him behind, so he stayed out.